Hey everyone, Oz here. I wanted to do a video for my YouTube followers. I haven't been doing that for a while. We've been extremely busy with the Blueprint program. But today I wanted to get back to you guys and talk about a topic of great importance. And I think many people have misconceptions about it. And that's why I wanted to take a couple of minutes and explain the power, either negative or positive, of this concept of making a decision, which is very, very important. So when you think about the power that you have with decision making, it is usually said that, oh, you have all the power to make all the decisions. I mean, every day we make decisions and decisions shape our lives, which is very true. But I think many people understand it in the wrong way, right? So you have micro decisions and you have macro decisions. So micro decisions are when you wake up in the morning, you might choose to run to the bathroom, or you might choose to walk to the bathroom. You might choose to have omelet for breakfast, or you might want to have something else, right? You might have bacon and cheese and cheeseburger and things like that. So those are micro choices that, regardless of your social status or your economic status and things like that, you almost all of us have the freedom to choose as we wish. But then there are macro decisions. And when you think about it, you don't have a lot of them, right? Micro decisions, you have thousands of them, and you have the freedom to do as you wish. But when it comes to macro decisions, there are actually a few, and those few are the more important ones that kind of shape everything else in your life. So I want to talk about them today. For example, if you constantly think about bettering your life and serving a higher purpose, whether it's serving a higher creator, or if you're religious, serving your God and things like that, or maybe you want to be in a better financial situation yourself and for your family. You have aspirations and goals to live at a better place. You have goals to have vacation at once every 2 months, and you want to reach a certain income level, and you want to declare your financial freedom, your location freedom, and you want to have the control of your time, so you don't you're not forced to show up to a job at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? So you have all of these aspirations and desires, and millions of people do have that same belief, and they want to accomplish similar things. But when you look at the percentage of people who actually succeed at that level, there's a huge variance, right? And there are reasons for that. And the most important reason is your decision-making process, decisions that you make. So you cannot be making conflicting decision with the end goal. It is actually a very straightforward process. So if your goal is to live a multi-million-dollar lifestyle and you're kind of clinging to your job right now, those are very conflicting, thought processes, right? So because your job, no matter how good it might be, it's going to max out at some level. Like on average, people from the age of 27 to 50, they only double their income at a job. So if you're holding a job right now and you're at 30 years old, and let's say you're making 50 grand, by 50, if we're positive, you're going to maybe break 6 figures. And that might sound like okay for you. You're breaking 6 figures, but think about how long it takes to double your income. Like it's taking 10 to 13 years to double your income to whatever it is. Like I've talked to people who are making $175,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year, having really good jobs, only to find out they're fired as they get older because the company thinks they're paying too much for that person, and they'd rather hire someone at $40,000 and have them do the same job. That's like a wake-up call, like knock, knock. If you think that your job is going to allow you to experience that lifestyle that you're talking about, you're very wrong. And you don't want to find out one day that you're wrong after you put in 15 years into a job like that, right? Because usually the counter argument to my argument is that, well, no, there are actually very great companies and they pay you X amount of dollars and you get the benefits and things like that. I agree to that, but does it serve the purpose that you want to accomplish, you want to reach? Because you have aspirations, you have goals. So that decision you make to reach those goals will shape what happens, the consequences, right? If you just wish that you would have a better lifestyle but continue showing up to your job every single day without a solid plan, I'll be the bearer of the bad news for you that 10 years from now, things will not be much different for you. Why? Because life goes from simpler to more complex usually. If you're 24 right now and you live with your parents and you think life is hard, like think about what happens when you get married and start having kids. And once you start having kids, you think life is really complicated because they cry and you have to soothe them. You got to get them diaper and food and help them grow up. And only to find out as they grow up, become teenagers, their problems become more complicated. Then they grow and they get married, then their problems become more complicated. Now you're dealing with third parties and kids, and all of a sudden you have your grandparents and things like that. So I don't want to make this sound like it's a horrible experience. I love kids. I have kids, and they are the best thing that could happen to somebody. But we cannot just write off the fact that they make life like growing up makes things more complicated. You have more things. So the things that you need to fulfill at age 20, 24 is not the same things that you need at age 50, right? And if you think that you're going to rely on that good job for that job to pay for that, you're going to have an average life, which is most of the people, right? So they have a very average life. When you just have them tell the story of what they have accomplished, it has to do with their jobs and titles and things like that. I'm not looking down on that, obviously. It's just a big accomplishment. But if you are different, if you know that you're different, if you want to accomplish different things, you can't make the same decision as someone who's average and expect a different result. But it just doesn't work that way, right? That's why I wanted to record this video as a wake-up call, that if you're going down a path and being really positive and think that 5 years from now, you're not going to do that bad. I mean, you're going to still have the income and maybe you'll buy a house, maybe you'll buy a car, you might be 100% right. But that means that you're giving up on those aspirations that you have right now. You're going to kill those dreams in 5 years because what the path you're going is not going to lead you to that place. All right. So that's just how it is, because it comes down to the definition of the word decision. Decision does not mean you're choosing something. Decision means you're cutting something off, right? Incision is cutting in. Decision is removing something, cutting stuff off. So decision means that you are eliminating things that are not helping you reach towards a better goal, so a better lifestyle, right? So decision is not choosing a business option. Decision is the decision to change your life and eliminating things and people and everything else that's not serving that bigger purpose. Only then you can reach those levels of success. That's why there's a big variance between people who want to live a better life, who want to reach certain levels of income goal and things like that, versus the ones who actually do. And if you've been wondering why that's the case, that hasn't to do with your destiny or with who you are or your age, your skin color, whether you have an accent or not, how long you've been in the States or in Canada, or skill set, has nothing to do with that, right? It has to do with your power to cut off things that is not serving that purpose, and everything else will fall in place when you make that decision to live that life, right? I guess that's the most important thing that you want to start with today. That doesn't mean that you go back tomorrow and tell your boss that you quit your job, right? But that does mean that you set your mind to start a business, because you cannot reach your goals financially speaking. You cannot have the freedom that you want to have while you have a job and you're counting days to 2-3 weeks of vacation per year. All right. That's just not the way to go. I'm not against having jobs. I had corporate jobs for many, many years, and I've reached the income level of $175,000 per year. That's when I quit my job. My boss and everyone else was super surprised because I had my best year and they thought I would just continue. But that's the year I noticed that I already had been working on building my business on the side anyways, because I made up my mind. But no one believed me, right? Including some of my family members. They said, yeah, I said, do your side gig, but just keep your job too. It's just safety, because you never know, right? Life happens and you want to have the benefits and the insurance and things like that. And everyone was super shocked that I told myself, all right, this was the year. I had a great year. Now it's time to quit that and spend that time building my business, building my empire. And then from that point on, we reached multiple 7-figure years after that, which I would have never experienced through a job. But I know that that's not because I was special or I went to special schools and things like that. I was pretty average actually when it comes to both schools and the work and performance and things like that. But one thing maybe unique about what I have done is I understood the weight of a decision. A decision is a seed that you plant either in yourself, in your brain, or somebody else's brain that flourishes if you feed it. For you to feed, you have to cut off certain things, right? If you're trying to grow a very healthy tree and there are weeds around that tree, well, those weeds are sharing the same resource. You might be watering that tree every single day, but if the area is covered with weeds and other creatures, well, they're taking the nutrients that should be going to that tree, right? So you have a fruit-bearing tree in a short amount of time. This is the same thing. You got to clear the weeds out of your mind. So when you make up your mind, you got to kind of look around and see who's not supporting that purpose. A lot of times you'll find out that they might be the people that whom you've been interacting with. As Tony Robbins says, that your income is the average of the 5 people that you hang out the most, right? So you got to be careful who you're associating yourself with, because some people's purpose, with all the good intentions, is to kill your dream, because they just want to constantly remind you that, listen, man, you're pretty average. So yeah, it's good to have those things, but what if you fail? Like you're going to go back and you're going to feel embarrassed. So these people are constant promoters of staying average. Again, they don't do it with the evil intentions, but sometimes that's just all it takes for you to come back to realize and think you think that that's the reality, that's the current reality maybe, that, oh yeah, you shouldn't be dreaming that big, and that's only for like the wealthy. Money is the source of all evil. Yeah, I'm doing okay right now. At least I got my friends and things like that. Those are the things that will stop you from what you're doing. Sometimes I get the question from people who schedule calls with me to join the Blueprint. And one of the questions is, oh, Oz, can you tell me what separates from winners than losers in your program? So does everyone make $1 million? Does everyone make $20, $30, $40,000? And I tell them all the time, my response is the same. What will separate one from the other is not so much like who they are. It is what they do. And what they do is determined by how they think. And how they think is determined by their decisions, right? So everyone starts any kind of training with all the good intentions. They want to make a change, but they can't keep that same excitement over time. Some of them do, most of them do. But those who can, the next day, the next week, the next month, that excitement goes down because of their environment, right? So they go back to the same job, and that should be a motivation for them to work harder so they can get the heck out of that job. But then they associate with people, they hang out, they do this 5 o'clock, happy hours, and they chill, and they're kind of sucked back into an environment that they were initially not happy with. Then they spend 3 hours a night watching Netflix, right? And they spend a couple of hours a week watching YouTube, and they can't stop scrolling through Facebook because they're just nosy. They want to know what's going on with other people's lives and things like that. And those are all decisions, right? So those decisions take away from, you're cutting away from the decision to work on your business instead of working on, having a good social media profile, or having new connections, or have more people view your Instagram stories and things like that. So I just want to remind you that you have the freedom to make a decision, but know that the outcome of your decisions are usually not immediate. That 3 hours that you spend not working on your business will not give you an immediate feedback right now. But if you repeat that for the next 6 months, that 3 hours per day adds up, and that becomes months of time that you could have invested back into earning your freedom, right? So do not take the meaning of the word decision to cut off lightly. And if you're serious about those aspirations that you talk to your wife, your husband, your friends, and your family, well, you got to live up to it, right? You got to come through. You can't just say things and just, have them turn into like dreams and things like wishful thinking that you go through every single day. And there's a formula to succeed, which is for you to find a vehicle. And once you find the right vehicle, which is awesome, but you will only follow through if you decide to follow through. That's why in your aspirations and goals, goal setting, be very specific. Do not say things like, I want to be rich. Well, that's just too broad. How do you define being a rich? Do you feel rich when you make your $20,000 per month? Maybe some people do, and that's plenty for them. There's nothing wrong with that. Or by rich, you mean how many $1 million in the bank account? I don't know which one it is, and neither your mind, right? So you got to be very specific on the things that you say you will do, because the more specific you become, more realistic it becomes to you. So it's not just a bunch of things that you say, because don't forget that usually the talkers are not really doers, right? So people who do things, they just do it. They just find a way, they figure it out, they find the information. We have thousands of people who just find, for example, my channel on YouTube because they want to get information about this industry. How did they come here? Well, they just found they decided that they needed more information. They decided that they wanted to start a business and be the owner of their own business and be in control of their destiny, right? So people do things sometimes automatically without noticing the power of what they're doing. So if that's you, if you have bigger goals than where you are right now and you're just not sure if you're working towards them, just keep plugging yourself in. Find mentors that you can follow, find systems that you can work on, but do not forget that it all comes down to for you to eliminating things from your life that is stopping you from getting to that level, right? Because decision is not a one-time thing. You don't decide once and things happen. Decision is done every single day. Once you decide to be in business, once you decide to join the blueprint, you have to reinforce that decision every single day by taking action, right? And that will only happen if you have a strong belief system to what you want to accomplish. So find things that motivate you. It might be just looking in the eyes of your loved ones, your daughter, your son, and your family, and imagining better things for them. Or it might be yourself, like walk into I used to do this a lot when I was selling door to door, and I never had like an expensive suit because I didn't have the money for it. So I would always buy it at a discount from K&G and things like that for like $100, $150. That was my budget. But I would go to malls where you have like Neiman Marcus and things like that. I would walk in and try the jackets on before the salesperson comes and asks me, "Can I help you, sir?" Right? Because I wasn't in a position to buy it, but I would put on those expensive jackets and suit and things like that and look myself in the mirror. That does something to your mind, right? That makes it more reachable. Instead of saying, "I wish," you kind of feel the fabric. You kind of see the look. It kind of makes you look a little different. And you look at the price tag, it's a couple of $1,000s easy, right? You're like, all right. So I want to experience this more. I want to own this, right? So you might say, well, this is all material stuff, but that's okay. So some of us are motivated by things like that, and it could be more emotional to you. Like if you want to give to the charity, to your church, imagine yourself, like I used to write checks to my future self. I would pull out a checkbook and write a check to myself for $1 million. And I will put a date on it saying that I'm going to cash this check in 2018. This was back in 2012, 2013. Why would I do that? Because I want my brain to experience my dreams as my current reality, right? You want to do that. And I know this might sound a little woo-woo to you and it might scare you, but a successful person does whatever it takes. If this kind of exercise is only, or even if it's helping only 1%, well, it's getting you 1% closer to your goal, because that gives you the power to make that decision and show your mind that you're actually doing something for your business. A lot of times we do a lot of things in our marketing to repel people, because if they're not really the entrepreneurial type, I don't want to babysit someone in the program. I want people who just really want to make a change, because if they really do not have a why, I cannot give them their why, right? They need to have that why. So we have a lot of single moms in the program. They don't really need an extrinsic motivation. They have kids at home and they want to spend more time with that and things like that. So some people just walk in with this massive why. Other people need that awakening a little bit. So I wanted to create this video to hopefully provide you that. My approach is a little direct, so I don't sugarcoat things. So hopefully my message was understood the right way. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, you definitely do so below the video. And if you like this video or if you have any feedback or questions, just comment below the video. And if you're interested in our program, there's a link below this video that you can go watch a completely free webinar so you find out more about what I do in my program and things like that. So hopefully you enjoy this, and definitely looking forward to see you in the next one. Take care now.